Hey guys, welcome to StuTube. It is April 3rd, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I am going to finally do a little bit of TA on Tesla, Uber, and of course Bitcoin, because that's what I mainly trade. So I'll start off with Tesla here. We are on the 1 week chart, and here we have basically where our last bull rally ended before this last rocket ship went to the moon here. So we have this cluster. Each of these candles is a week, so that's quite a bit of data there. And if we zoom in to kind of where our last rally took place, what happened, and what happened to it. So here, as we bottomed out, we did have this bit of a downtrend here. And you can see as soon as that was broken, basically the bulls took off. Another pattern that I was looking at was this triangle down here. And if you take a measured move of that triangle, as soon as we broke up, we basically immediately got that measured move where we topped out very temporarily. So that would have been a great target, a first target for that bit of a rally there. And of course, once that happened, FOMO kicked in. Um, there was a whole bunch of buying action for Tesla, and it's a great company. I believe in it very strongly. I don't own any, but I do think it would be a great investment. Anyways, after we had this triangle breakout, we formed this bit of a channel that Tesla was actually following for 41 bars. So these are all daily candles right now. So this channel basically was respected for over a month, except for these 3 days, which there was a bit of a fake out pump there, but we won't worry about that. What we do notice though is we had a bearish divergence in the RSI as well as a double top here. That is a big bearish factor right there. And then after that, we all know what happened with all the markets across the world. Tesla is no exception that it's feeling the wrath of the coronavirus. But if I zoom in here to the 1 hour just to take a more in-depth look, you can see when we broke out of this channel, we did basically retest it. We got real close there. Never quite hit it, but very close. What we did hit though was the start of this new downtrend. And after we hit that, we formed this bit of a triangle pattern here. And I love triangles. We have a flat base of support here. We have a downtrend forming there. And as soon as that support was lost, and it was actually even retested, had a support resistance flip. So since then, we continued the sell-off. And we did actually bottom out at the bottom of that weekly box that I had outlined earlier from years ago of data. After we bottomed out there, we formed this bit of a rising wedge, which is generally a bearish pattern. We did break to the downside, and it's kind of funny how as we broke to the downside, we also tested this downward sloping resistance again. And right now we're just fighting with that again. So I know after market trading yesterday there was quite a bit of upside in the price. I think it said something like $540, but that's not counted in the trade view here. And I'm gonna give this chart a little more weight because if things were happening in the aftermarket trading, I don't know how reliable it is. Don't just take my advice on this. I don't actually trade stocks that well. I'm just looking at it from a technical analysis point of view. But it's a lot easier. Let's say there's a lot less volume. It's easier to manipulate price. It's just easier that a little bit of money is going to change the markets a little more. So aftermarket pricing might not be as reliable as when the markets are open. So I'm going to treat this as another test of that falling resistance. In the long term, I do think Tesla is a great company, but I don't think it can really gain traction until it does break this downward sloping trend line. I would not be surprised at all if we retest this purple box. We don't have to, but ideally we want to eventually see this red line broke and then retested and start to form a staircase from there to the upside. So that's kind of what I'm looking at on Tesla. And another thing I want to point out actually is if I bring out the Fibonacci tool, if I go from swing high to swing low, the 0.618 fib line, which is a golden retracement, is around the $730 mark, which also lines up with this old base of support, which could now be resistance. That would be basically a perfect setup for a bit of a bull trap. If we do break that high and we're unable to break it, kind of depends, in my opinion, what the health of the global economy is, because right now, obviously, things are pretty unpredictable with what's going to happen the next little while, especially until there is a vaccine of some sort. Anyways, that's just kind of a few basic things that I'm kind of watching on the Tesla chart. Again, I don't actually have it. I just wanted to make a video about it because I am interested in it and I do watch it, and picking some up in the future would definitely be on my radar. It's going to be a consideration. Now we're going to hop over to Uber. Uber has a lot less price history, so I don't have a whole lot to talk about here. Basically, I have two main trend lines that I have formed along the top here, and this one, kind of the heart line of the pattern, which, again, guys, we see this whole support, or we had this trend line, it was resistance. It tried to test it as support. It failed basically immediately, but this was after the world was basically going to shit. And it's funny how that line just did continue on, so it's currently being respected as resistance again. Down here I do have this green arrow. I did happen to buy a little bit of Uber stock, just under $15, and I don't want to give you guys any false info and say this was a skill trade or anything like that. That was 100%. I just saw the price and was like, you know what, Uber long term, kind of like Tesla, is just, I assume it's going to be a great investment down the road. So I don't really care what it's doing right now. It's just funny that I did happen to pick basically the very bottom. But I'm not emotionally attached to those. I'm not trading those. That's just kind of, I had a little extra money sitting aside and I threw some in there. Now, guys, I'm going to go into the macro view of Bitcoin because you all know that I love trading Bitcoin. Here we did have, so we had this wedge here, obviously broke huge, and then we had this wedge which did break out, but again, the world economy kind of in the shitter right now, a lot of fear in the markets, people are selling their risky assets and want to have cash in hand. Bitcoin is no different. No matter what people tell you, how it's a hedge against the central banks, it's you can say whatever you want to say about it. It's a very high risk asset, even more than most stocks. So it just doesn't make sense for people to hold it in times of uncertainty. That being said, guys, we do have, so these lines are moving averages. The green is 21-week moving average, the orange is a 50-week moving average, and the red is the 200-week moving average. This 200-week moving average, the red one, you can see we got below it temporarily but immediately shot back up. And that's definitely something to watch, because when we had our last massive dump from 20,000 down to 3,000, we perfectly respected that line as we had a double bottom on it. And from there, I mean, you can see what happened. The price just exploded. That was around a 300% move to the upside. So obviously that line holds a little bit of significance. Even if we go way back to basically where it first formed, when there was enough data to form it, that's basically the only time that we've seen it below. Ever since that, we've basically, that's been our main support, the support that just seems to not be able to be broken. We just stay away from it, or we touch it and then explode off of it again. So we're going to have to see how that plays out, especially with this yellow vertical line is the halving date, or approximately. It'll be in May, so that may factor into the price. But what I'm almost expecting to happen would be a bit of a bounce here and a retrace back down to wherever this line does end up playing to, and possibly get that double bottom bounce formation again that we had over here. So if we do, especially crossing the halving like that, if we can cross my white trend line here and start forming some consolidation, I think that's when Bitcoin is going to see a massive move to the upside. None of this is financial advice. Do your own research, but you guys know I love playing patterns and the measured moves and that sort of stuff. And well, we do have a massive triangle right here. If we take that as, let's say, a breakout point from there, I mean, what are we looking at? That's $27,000 somewhere in there. Again, that pattern does not have to play out, but it's definitely on my radar, and it would make a lot of sense if we happen to break this white resistance line here. If I zoom in a little further to what's been going on recently, if I go to the 4-hour chart, you guys know that for weeks I've been pointing out this green triangle, and I said if it breaks to the upside, we might be in for touching that purple resistance line. And although we never hit it up here, we did basically touch it yesterday. I mean, we came very, very close. You guys know that I did play this to the upside a little bit. I did end up taking profits, and I also played this red bearish wedge to the downside when we broke below that. And since then, I've been just kind of sniping little trades here. If I go into the 15-minute, this red line here, I never did take along here, kind of kicking myself because looking back, Captain Hindsight is a bit of a jerk, and that was a very easy play. Anyways, I missed that one. But I did have this yellow trend line drawn here. We broke it and actually started consolidating above it, so I took out a long as well. We have this yellow trend line formed, and we had the exact same thing happen. We had a close above, we consolidated above a little bit, ran to the upside slightly, so that was another little long snipe. After that, we had a little bit of a triangle here, which I did end up playing it because to me it looked like a bull flag. We have our flagpole up, we have our triangle pennant here, and then we had our break up, and same thing, when we closed above resistance we consolidated above it a little bit, so it looked like a safe bet to me. And check this out, guys, as far as a bull flag formation, we take our measured move of the flagpole, take it from our breakout point, and that's pretty damn close to our purple line again. And again, we came very close, never quite touched it, but my lines could be slightly off. They don't have to be perfect. The measured moves don't have to play out every time, but pretty crazy how technical analysis can give you such strong price targets and that sort of stuff. So I ended up taking my profits out of that. I thought 7,000 was going to be a nice round number, so I took some profits around 69.80. I kept the rest running. I took some profits at 71.50 and 72.50, which played out beautifully. And then we had this yellow trend line form here. Once again, we broke above, tested it as new support, got our move to the upside there, and again, I just shot for just shy of 7,000, so it was like 69.80 or something like that. Now, guys, I'm just kind of throwing in a little bit of a short here because, let me just erase a few things here. If we followed this trend support line here, I mean, we've had several touches on it, and we did actually just get a candle close below it and then a second candle close below it, so I am actually a little bit short right now. If we break back above this, I'm going to add an alert on my trend line. I'm going to have my stop loss somewhere just over this structure here. It'll be over this sloping resistance line, and it will be over this little bit of structure. So we're just going to see how that goes. Ideally, my target would be down to this yellow line here, but we will see what happens. Trading is about playing probabilities. It's not about winning every time. But so far, these snipes the last few days have been playing out beautifully, so hopefully this one is no different. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. It was a little different than just my Bitcoin analysis. Thought I'd throw a couple stocks in there, whether I'm playing them or not, and just give a little insight to what I'm looking at. Oh, actually, one trend line I just noticed is something like that. If we break to the upside on that and close above, set an alarm here, I would be interested in playing along if we do happen to get back above that to test the purple line again, potentially, maybe even higher. Anyways, that was kind of last minute, but let's see what happens with this short here. Hopefully it plays out well. If not, I guess on to the next trade. Wait for the next line to be broken and carry on. Anyways, guys, have a good weekend. Stay safe out there, and catch you later.